All right, folks, today what we're going to be working on is we've got this HP laptop, and it's a situation where this laptop was dropped, and there's damage. Let me get my flashlight here. There's damage to the charging port, so she won't charge anymore. If you can look inside, you can see there's still the wires in there from where the prong alignment piece goes, but that piece has been lost and broke off. And if we take a look at the charging port itself, you can see down in here, if we zoom in, there's a teeny tiny pin at the bottom of these. And it's supposed to, there it is. There's a teeny tiny little brass or gold-plated pin down there, rather. And that's what is normally going into the center of that charge port. And so what we've got is we don't have any way to get this guy lined up when we push him in, and that's why the charging is intermittent, and that's also why when it is plugged in, the computer can't really tell that it's being charged. So what are the symptoms you get on this? You either have trouble charging, the little light here that's supposed to turn amber when it's charging stays white, and it doesn't charge, or it does charge, but the system runs in a very, very reduced CPU capacity because it can't detect the amperage of the power adapter. So before we go order parts, let's go make sure that the damage didn't affect our charging brick as well. So we're going to take our HP charging brick, and we're going to go down here and figure out what the voltage should be. And it's right down here in the very lower corner. And it's definitely an eye test, but it looks like 19.5 volts. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook up our charging brick to power. And we're going to take our voltmeter, get our voltmeter set up. We're going to put her on volts. And then what you're going to do very carefully, so if we look at this guy, this outer barrel is the ground, and then that pin in the middle is the voltage. And so what we're going to take with our leads, we're going to hold the outer barrel for our negative to do a voltage test here. And then we've got this blue plastic piece that's on here. We're going to make sure we keep this pin or this lead against that blue plastic. And then we're going to reach in very carefully, and we're going to tap that center lead. And then we're going to see if we make good contact, what do we get? We're getting 19.8 volts. And we come back over here, you can see we're holding it nice and steady where we don't get anything shorted out. So 19.8, it says 19.5. Of course, it's not plugged into anything and doing any kind of a drain on it. So we're going to conclude that we do not need to order a new brick. We only need to order a new connector here. Now, how we order the connector, I'll go show you on the computer how you go type in your model number at Hewlett-Packard and how you can get into the service manual and find the part you need. So let me go show you that. All right, folks, go to hp.com, right? www.hp.com, like you see right here, and then come over on the menu, go into support, and then go into support and troubleshooting. Scroll down and enter the model number of your laptop. Now this particular one is an M6 AE151DX. And if you're entering this right, it should give you some choices on what these could be. If you don't see yours on there though, just go ahead and hit submit. It'll find your system. Just make sure that it does find your system. AE151DX, which is what we want. And then we're going to come down and we're going to select manuals. And then under manuals, we're going to select the maintenance and service guide. Now, when you select the maintenance and service guide, you're going to scroll down to the section that's entitled Illustrated Parts Catalog. We're going to scroll down through the major components parts explosion here. And the part we're after is this right here, this assembly, number 5 and number 6 in this picture. And if we scroll down and we look at number 5 and 6, that's the power connector bracket and the power connector cable. It comes as a kit, and it's part number HP 812-681-001 for this particular laptop, as well as dozens and dozens of others. Now, Once you're sure that you've got this part number, then this video is going to apply to what we're showing, is going to apply to what you've got. If we go take a look at HP, parts.hp.com rather, and you can type that part number in, you can find out, you can order that part directly from HP. It'll cost you about 30 bucks, as you see here, but I'm going to provide links in the description that are far cheaper on eBay and Amazon. So now let's go ahead and show how to install this part. All right, now that we've got our parts, let's go ahead and get them installed. In order to open these types of laptops, you just need to have a Phillips screwdriver, and you're going to go ahead and remove all of the screws around the periphery of the belly plate, as well as the 2 screws in the middle. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll cut and come back. All right, we've got all these screws out, as you can see, and we've got those 2 in the middle loosened. We're just going to leave those in there. One of the corners, just pick one with a pry tool, a plastic pry tool that you look like you think you can get in. This one looks suitable. We're just going to come in here on this corner. Whoops. And then we're going to work the cover snaps off that are inside. Okay, we'll take the cover and set it over here. And now we're just going to reorient the laptop this way. If you end up doing this like I am, just remember which way it went so you can put it back. So here we can see our charge cable. Now we can take our plastic tool here and we can remove this connector, right? So now we don't have to worry about disconnecting the battery or anything because we've removed that connector. We're going to twist it another way here. Bring ourselves a little extra light. All right, so now we can see there's another screw right there holding a little retaining bracket. It's a little bit obstructed by our Ethernet jack, so we're going to have to remove the Ethernet jack first. That just snaps out. Yeah, this is more trouble than I thought it would be. Looks like we have to actually lift the board a little bit to be able to get to that screw. So with that level of commitment, we are going to want to disconnect the battery. So all we have to do to get this out, it's a shame the HP engineers didn't place this a few millimeters out of the way, but we're going to have to get that little Phillips screw out to take this bracket off, and then we can take this piece off. And I'll show you what the new part looks like just so you can envision what we're trying to do here. All right, so here's the new HP cable piece here. It just sits underneath this bracket. And then if we hold it up, we can actually see the damage. All right, so you can see we're missing that little centerpiece. That's what broke off. That's why we're doing this repair. All right, so a little bit of extra work. It happens from time to time. So now we're going to need to disconnect this battery so that we can pull the whole board out. And our battery connection on this guy looks like we need to first remove this ribbon cable here. Actually lift up on this and then pull on the blue. That'll get that out. And then we can remove this screw here. It's holding the battery. There's a couple of them actually. And then there's another one here. And there's another one here. And there's another one here. And there's another one here. All right, I think that's all of them. Kind of loosen the adhesive for this drive cable. And then we can work the actual connector loose. All right, there's our battery. So we've de-energized everything. So now the board. So all of these black oxide Phillips screws are what's retaining the board. There's going to be several of them. We're going to see if we can get away with not having to disassemble the whole thing just to change this cable. See if we can find any others nearby. I don't see any others nearby. And what's holding this part of the board on looks like this little tab here. See if we can locate the other screw without having to. I don't want to really have to take this whole board off because that'll mean having to repaste the CPU, take out the fan and everything else just to change this one little connector. I was hoping we could just lift this guy up enough, but I don't think we can. We'll see if we can get this in here and just, nope. So the way this works is the board slides in and then folds down. And so we don't want to break this. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do further disassembly, unfortunately. Oh well, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's take the fan off. So there's a screw there holding the fan. We've got a cable going over to this USB port. We'll go ahead and remove that. Lift up on the retaining tab. Work that ribbon out. We've got a couple of connectors for the Wi-Fi antenna. They're labeled 1 and 2. Just come under here and pop those off. We can leave the Wi-Fi module attached. And let's see what else we got to take off before we can pull this. We've got a couple more connectors here. 1, 2. We've also got this connector here, which is just a standard slide out kind of connector. Let me turn this back around, get a better view of it. Oops. All right, so that's just like a little push-in kind of clip that holds down on this ribbon cable. And then this guy is a standard lift up, pull out. All right, we got everything disconnected. We got a couple more fan screws. Probably have got enough to disconnect the fan. There we go. And we got an audio cable kind of running around the edge of the fan going to the subwoofer. We'll work that off. All right, and then we can actually disconnect the CPU cooling fan. All right. Now, I think all we have left is the actual CPU mounting in order to get this board out. And we got one more here, or two more here. Again, lift up, pull out, or just slide out. This is another audio connection. All right, so everybody's loose. Everybody's loose. Actually, okay, great. No, we do not have to take that off. Perfect. All right, so you see now I'm able to get in there. Now we can come in and do what we wanted to do in the first place. Now we can take this Phillips screw off. That'll allow us to lift up this plate. Bracket. Oops, one more. Gosh, guys, my vision is just obstructed. A little cable prevented me from seeing this guy. So it looks like what you have going on here is this hugely complicated thing where this bracket is held down by the hinge bracket. It's like, Lord Almighty. End up having to take all this off just to get this little DC, AC-DC kind of connector to let go. Let me reach over here and get a prying tool. All right. Have we got enough to get in here yet? Another one. So we have to get this hinge out of the way so we can take this guy off. Now, I was hoping that I could just lift up on it, but I might have to actually open up the laptop. Let's see if we can. There we go. All right. Now, after all that, we can get this bracket out of here. We can take this broken piece out. We can put our replacement piece in and reverse all this. What I want to make sure we do is on this side here, make sure I get some light over here. This side's going to fit down and hold under that plastic piece, this bracket. So we want to make sure we get that into position. Right. Sorry guys, I'm sliding a little bit out of your view for a second, just trying to get some leverage on here. All right. Now we got to reverse everything. Right, but that's basically what we're after here. So before I can put this all back together, I want to be able to get this one screw on this side in. Just so this guy doesn't move on us. There we go. Okay. All right, so now we're just going to reverse it all. Take that big black one, put him here. He'll do enough of a holding of the hinge bracket so that we can close the hinge. There we go. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put those two back in. And then this guy back in. All right, that was the hard part. Get these cables on this side, make sure they don't get stuck underneath so that we can hook everything back up that we want to hook up here. All right. And then just reverse everything. So we'll go back and we'll put the black screws in that are securing the motherboard into position. Another one here that we'll put there. We'll go all the way around. We'll put all these back in. Once we've got everything secured, then with the fasteners, then we'll come back and hook all the cables back up. All right, folks, we've got all of our connectors back in down here. We've placed the battery. Be sure when you place the battery back, you get these alignment pins, so everything's sitting flush. And then you'll put your retaining bolts back in for the battery that you took out. And that's going to be these short ones that have blue Loctite on them from the factory. With that back in, we can go ahead and connect this last connector here and lock it down. We've put our fan back in. We've got a couple more of these to go here. And then one more up here. Be sure as you put the battery down, this audio connector, and there's a little backup battery underneath here. Make sure you get the cables back under the board so that the battery will sit flush. All right, we need to put our Ethernet cover back on. So to do that, we're going to kind of sit it like this. And what you're noticing is it's got a little ridge here and here that needs to sit under these two retainers. So we're going to slide that into position, keep this out of the way. Turn this a little bit like this until it sits flush. And then you take the two long black screws to hold it in position. Last thing we've got here is the guy we went through all this trouble to change. Now, you flip him around, he's got a solid white side, and he's got a side where you can see the gold. If you look at our old one, we can see that it was twisted around so that faced up, just like that. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to give it a slight twist, and then we're going to go ahead and connect it in. And then we're going to take this piece of retaining tape that the factory used off the old one, and we're going to use that to hold it down in position on this one. And actually, I think it goes like right there because there's a little cutout for it. All right, and now we can hook our battery back up. There we go. Just going to work this guy back in. All right, and now we are ready to put our cover back on. We kind of dropped all the screws in there just to make it easier not to get them mixed up with any of the screws that we needed to do on the board. Snap it back in. And once you've got it snapped back in, just go around and seat all of these screws just like you took them off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll see if we fix this problem. All right, guys, we've got everything tightened back down, and now we're going to see if this is all paid off for us. So we've got our power supply plugged in, and we've got an amber light again, which shows that it's charging. Now, if we zoom in here, we can tell that there is some damage. Actually, let me turn the laptop more like this. You can kind of see that there's a bend in the outside metal, and that's okay. That's cosmetic. As long as that connector and this connector are able to make complete contact and illuminate that light. And sometimes what you want to do is you want to make sure that that is the case in a 360-degree direction, right? Make sure that it maintains the charge detection all the way around. In this case, it's fixed. One other thing I'd point out is if we take a look at the original, and I don't know if we're going to be able to zoom in enough to see this, but we'll notice that the part numbers like 79973, looks like a 6 there. And our replacement had the same thing. So I'm just pointing that out, that if you see that, I don't know, it looks kind of dark on the camera here. Let me see if I can shed a little bit of light on this. You can see what I'm talking about here. That is still the correct number. So even though it's sold as an 812681 number, you might see this 799736 on either your original or the replacement. That's okay, apparently. So I hope this video helped you out. If you got any questions or you got some comments, go ahead and leave them below. I'd love to help you out. If you found this saved you some time or money or got your laptop working again, please hit that like button. I'd appreciate it much. Thanks for watching.